All right, we're ready. Ready? Okay. All right, today is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. It's 9:10 a.m. Commission Secretary, please call roll.
Chairman Boatright.
Here.
Commissioner Erdman.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Hageman.
Here.
Commissioner Slade.
Here.
Commissioner Baker. Here. We have a quorum.
Great. Welcome, everyone. It's great to be back in Kansas City, Missouri. A friendly reminder for all that we're live streaming our open meetings for the public to view. If you are speaking, please make sure that you speak into the microphone and that the microphone is on so viewers can hear what is being said. For viewers watching online, we encourage you to subscribe to MoDOT's YouTube channel at MoDOT Video for access to these meetings and more. We're going to get started today with a meeting with a brief safety emphasis. Jason Utz, Jackson County Maintenance Superintendent. Sir, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioners and Director Hessinger. My name, like I said, is Jason Utz. I'm the KC District Maintenance Superintendent over Jackson County, and I have just a few safety reminders this morning. So in the event of a fire, you will hear an audible alarm. The stairwells on either side of this floor will exit down to ground level and outside the building. We will then walk across the street and meet on the east side, which is this side of the building, and that'll be at 12th and Wyandotte on the sidewalk. In case there's a small fire, there's a fire extinguisher out in the hallway on either side of this room, and I've asked Matt Killian to retrieve that fire extinguisher and use it if needed. In the event of severe weather, everyone should hear the same audible alarm. We will have to exit the west side stairwell and go down one floor, and that will take us right into the Bessie Ballroom. If we have to evacuate this room for a fire or tornado, please take a moment to make note of who you're sitting next to, so we make sure that upon your arrival to that designated safe location, that your neighbor has arrived safely also. If there's a medical emergency, most people in this room are certified in CPR. Jay Wunderlich will call 911, and that can be done from any hotel phone. Becky Omeroth has volunteered to administer CPR, and Eric Schrader will assist her. If an AED is needed, we'll also call 911 from any hotel phone. Jill Bruss has been tasked with getting the AED, which is underneath this podium. And Joey Hinton will meet the medical team downstairs to get them up here for assistance in any medical emergency. So now that we've discussed how to keep safe during our meeting, I'd like to provide an additional safety idea for you to take home with you. December is one of the busiest travel months of the year, with friends and family celebrating the holidays. We don't often have big winter storms in December, but it is possible, along with increased traffic from holiday trips, that traffic can be impacted. A great place to get information on road conditions is MoDOT's Traveler Information Map. Here you can see information on road impacts such as snow cover, flooding closures, work zones, and there's even a real-time traffic layer. Unfortunately, Santa won't let us show his travel route, but you will be safer getting to Grandma's house using the Traveler Information Map at traveler.modot.org. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Excellent job. Next, I would like to recognize our special guest. We have Senator Maggie Nuremberg. Welcome. Soon to be Senator. I'm sorry, soon to be Senator. Yes, ma'am. We have Representative Josh Herbert. And we have Chief of Staff Buffy Smith from Congressman Graves' office. And while we're at this point, Ms. Buffy, if you wouldn't mind to please come up. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to recognize Congressman Graves. We're here in Kansas City, and of course, now that the Buck O'Neill Bridge is open, his support was essential to getting the funding for the Buck O'Neill Bridge. And we have a resolution that we would like to present Congressman Graves for his contributions to helping the state get that work done and many other things. But so let me grab this and we'll grab a photo. This one in? Okay. Yeah, can we get a photo back here? Great. Yeah, come on. All right.
Stand on this, I'll let this talk.
Careful now.
Makes you taller.
1, 2, 3.
Thanks so much.
Easy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We did have some good news yesterday. So Congressman Graves was issued a waiver, yes, a waiver with the potential of being the TNI chair for another 2 years. So that vote's going to take place hopefully in the next week or so. So fingers crossed that we have the chair of TNI that continues for another 2 years. So very exciting news. Okay, so next I need to review a few procedural items, public comment period. I want to remind everybody that we have a public comment period and we're pleased to offer this to every Missourian that wants to come before the commission to address an issue of concern. Any of you that would like to address the commission, please sign up before 9:30 a.m. And a reminder that you will have 5 minutes for public comment or 10 minutes per subject. Next, I will review the abstention process. There are commissioners that because of land ownership or business interest, or the lawyers that may represent clients that may either have some relationship to a matter coming before the commission and may have a potential or actual conflict of interest to be considered or voted upon. The commission member will indicate if he or she chooses to abstain from voting or recuse him or herself from participating in the discussion of the agenda item. If the agenda item is divisible by contract, call, project, or like, a commissioner may specify that particular matter and then still vote on the remainder of the agenda items. This information has been provided ahead of time to the commission secretary by letter, and the commission secretary will duly indicate the abstentions or recusals accordingly in the minutes of the meeting. Madam Secretary, have the appropriate letters been put together? Thank you. All right. So the first item of business on the agenda is consideration of the minutes for the regular meeting on November the 8th, 2024, and a special meeting on November the 7th, 2024. Does anybody have any corrections or additions?
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Second. And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next business item is consideration of the consent agenda. Today, I want to go ahead and pull out item 5, which is a commission policy revision. We've got some presentations later in the meeting today, and we'll touch back on this later in the meeting. Does anybody need to remove any other item for discussion or abstain from any item?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I will abstain in voting on this matter because it has the potential to impact settlement negotiations with railroad corporations. Thought it'd be a good idea to abstain on.
Thank you, Commissioner Odman. For the remaining consent agenda items, do we have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. And then just note that Commissioner Erdman's abstaining. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to recognize someone today. Mr. Jay Wonderlick, where are you in the room, sir? Are you outside the room? Come in here. So another resolution that the commission has today is for Mr. Jay Wonderlick. You in the room may not know, but Jay's on the countdown. This is his last month with the department. He is going to retire. And
27 days. Oh, 17. I'm sorry.
Who's counting?
so Jay has been traveling and doing the work on the legislative side for MoDOT for 24 years. He's led the department's policy efforts and been very, very built a lot of relationships over that time. And he's had to deal with a lot of us pesky commissioners. So, and he's a funny guy, you know. Think about dealing with all of us and then still being funny. I mean, it's tremendous, Jay. So yes, so thank you. Everybody knows Jay at the Capitol, and of course, you're going to be very, very missed. But we wish you the very best in retirement, and we do want to get a picture with you so we have evidence that you were here. And so come on up and let's get a picture with the resolution. Oh, and did you bring a picture today so we can show the crowd? Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Can we take one step away from the wall towards the audience?
Sure.
I think it'll help.
Thank you.
She said one step away.
Sure, sir.
Away?
Yeah.
Forward?
Yeah.
I'll get on this.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chief said, thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Appreciate it. Please. Thank you.
Jay, I thought you were just kidding, but I believe you're serious.
It's good to know. So for the folks in the room that don't know the backstory on the photo, shortly after Jay got out of college, he had is it painted? Or is this just a photo? Okay, it's a photo that's framed that he did for his mother. Now, she did not take it because that would be unfair to the rest of her children to have this hung in her house. So Jay kindly has been trying to, as commissioners come off the commission, provide this beautiful photo, this large photo that could go over a fireplace to the former commissioners, and he has had no takers. None. But that's the story on the photo. It's a good comic relief. And Jay, we appreciate everything that you've done. You have certainly been an asset to the state of Missouri and wish you the very best. Thanks. Next order of business is to receive committee of board reports. 3 commissioners serve on the audit committee. Commissioner Slade, Baker, and I. Today, Commissioner Slade will give the report.
There is no report this month. The next audit committee meeting will be on March 5th, 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Slade. All commissioners are members of the legislative committee, and the commission's chair and vice chair serve as co-chairs of the legislative committee. Today, Commissioner Erdman will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, you know, the legislature is about to convene when they start pre-filing bills. And that started on December 2nd, which was the first day that members of the General Assembly could begin pre-filing legislation for the 2025 session. Looking forward to next year, the commission and MoDOT staff will continue to work with elected officials on the commission's 2025 legislative agenda and policy positions. Our government relations department expects to see progress on the Safer Access for Everyone on the Roadways, or SAFER document, which outlines several safety initiatives that could be addressed with legislative action. The department will also work on raising awareness of the costs associated with, you guys know what's coming here, trash removal from the highways. This is something that I'm very proud of the progress we've made in Kansas City, but we're not satisfied, and we have 3 legislative proposals that will take this to an even higher standard if adopted by the legislature. The first regular session of the 103rd General Assembly will begin at noon on January 8th. And I would like to recognize Chairman Boatwright for continuing to support the Coffee with the Commission that preceded this. I want to thank the members of the General Assembly who joined us this morning. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to hear from them and to learn what their concerns are. And it was wonderful that they were able to get up and be here and join us this morning. So again, I would like to thank and express how much we appreciate the chairman's leadership in continuing this. I have no doubt that we will all be fully engaged as the General Assembly convenes next month. And this would be an appropriate time to echo the sincere gratitude we have to Jay Wonderlich for his legislative work over the years. His service truly has been remarkable. And with his pending retirement, this is the last legislative committee report that he will have prepared for us. And while we will be wishing him well in retirement, I'm guessing he will be on our speed dial for months to come. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner Smith serves as president of the MTFC, and Commissioners Erdman and Baker are board members. Today, Commissioner Smith will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board met on November 12th and accepted the fiscal year 24 financial audit presented by Williams Keeper LLC. This was the 28th consecutive clean audit for the MTFC. The board received its 16th certificate of achievement from the Government Finance Officers Association for excellence in financial reporting. Outstanding financial reporting, Todd and Brenda. Thank you for your good work and your good leadership, and thank you to your team. The next meeting is scheduled for February 5th, 2025. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioners Erdman, Hageman, and I serve on the Empress Board. Today, I will provide the report. The Empress Board met on November 21st, 2024. At this meeting, the board approved the 2025 meeting schedule. We also approved the upgrade of the pension administrative system, and the board received its annual audit report with an unmodified or clean opinion. So we have a governance committee meeting next week, and that concludes my report. Moving on, today I will give an update on the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety Executive Committee report. As of December the 1st, there have been 845 traffic fatalities in Missouri so far this year. This is 80% fewer fatalities than this time last year. While the final reports are still coming in from the Thanksgiving weekend, preliminary data indicates that there were 5 fatalities over the holiday period compared to 9 last year. As we approach the end of 2024, the state is positioned to see an overall decrease in the number of traffic fatalities for the second year in a row, which is wonderful. This week marked the beginning of pre-filing for proposed legislation in the Missouri General Assembly. The commission and the coalition continue to promote a number of public policy measures the state should consider to improve the state highway safety in our state. The SAFER document outlines more than a dozen measures the state could take to save lives, such as enhancing current car seat requirements and strengthening the graduated driver's license program for new drivers. We are hopeful several of these items will be taken up for discussion during the 2025 session. Finally, the coalition has begun the process of updating the state's strategic highway safety plan. This plan outlines the primary areas in which the state and coalition partners should focus their energies and resources in order to have the greatest impact on the highway safety. The current emphasis areas include seatbelt use, distracted driving, excessive speeds, and impaired driving. Approximately 75 people from dozens of partner organizations attended the kickoff meeting, and the group will continue to meet in the upcoming months before preparing a draft plan for comment. The plan is set to be completed and made available to the public on October the 1st, 2025. Before I conclude my report, I want to remind everybody as we leave the meeting today to go home to please buckle up and phone down. Okay, so moving on to the fourth item on the agenda is the director's report. So Ed, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Good morning. So I want to start with something that we did a couple weeks ago. We have the biggest 5-year transportation program that we've ever had at MoDOT. Huge challenge that's in front of us. And when we think about how we deliver that program, it's not just MoDOT. We have a public-private partnership that's been in place for a century. And really our partners that help us deliver that program are critical to being able to meet that challenge. And, you know, that's a really huge accountability thing for the department. We have a track record of delivering over the last decade. We've delivered over 4,000 projects, worth about $10 billion, 385 million under budget and 94% on time. That is a track record, but the challenge in front of us is greater. We have a $14.6 billion STIP with, about 10 billion of that being actually construction. And we have to do that in less time, 5 to 7 years. So you can see the challenge in front of us. So one of the things we decided we needed to do was get together with our industry partners and lay out what we see as the plan over the next 5 years and make sure that we get their feedback on if we're thinking about this right, because they're going to have to do the preliminary work to get ready to deliver that program as well as we do. So when we hatched the idea, and I have to recognize Eric Schrader and Kenny Voss, who are in the audience, when I proposed this idea to them, and I said, oh, by the way, we want to do this before the end of the year. I saw some eyes get pretty big, and they went to work and really put together a great program. We had over 150 people attend that meeting. In fact, we had to find a different venue because the demand for that was that great. So here you see some pictures of that meeting, but we basically laid out not only all the big projects like I-70 and what its timeline is and I-44, but also every other major project in the state and what that timeline is. And then in addition to that, how much of our more routine work goes in between those so that the industry can see what's coming, can be prepared for it, and give us feedback if we're thinking about this right. So we had a great group of folks presenting kind of our vision of how this is going to go. We asked the industry for feedback. We're getting some of that now, and we'll take that feedback and try to adjust that plan as we get ready to do the next 5-year plan, which is going to start. We're going to start talking about that in another month here. So great. It was a great event. I think some great relationships were built also. That was another key that we wanted to make sure that we did during that event. And I think this is something we'll probably continue periodically as we move through this, record program that we're trying to deliver so we can keep everybody on the same page. So wanted to highlight that to you. The second thing I wanted to highlight today is later in our program, you're going to hear a report on MoDOT's cost share program. This is a program that's been in place for decades. And I don't want to steal any of Todd's thunders because he's going to tell you all about it, but it's been a critical program to help leverage transportation dollars to do really important improvements that might not have got done through our normal program. And since we're in Kansas City today, I thought it would be a pretty good opportunity to share with you. Our cost share committee met 2 days ago to consider some cost share projects that were proposed. And one of those projects that we approved on Tuesday was the city of Kansas City's proposal on the Kansas City South Loop project. And, it's right out the door here where they're going to put a park over the highway, basically. Now, MoDOT has been involved in the planning and discussion about this. And the cost share proposal was a $60 million project to do a lot of the groundwork, the things that you're not going to see, to make sure that what's under the lid or the park is in good shape and is there for the next, 50, 100 years. And so that project is to do the pavement underneath, to do the drainage, to do the retaining walls that the structure will sit on. Really, I think a great forward-looking idea that the city has put forward. We're happy to be involved in that. And I'll tell you that the approval of that cost share was the biggest single cost share that MoDOT has done through the cost share program in the history of our program. So kind of monumental as we're here in Kansas City. So I thought it would be a great idea to share that with everybody and let you know that that's been approved. And then Todd will give you kind of the the bigger picture on our cost share program over the last several decades. So it's really great to be here to be able to report that today. So, and then the last thing that I want to just highlight is when I was appointed to this job, we had a conversation. The commission had asked that we put together a director's advisory committee, and we asked for feedback from a lot of our partners on what that should look like. The commission had 6 things that they wanted us to really focus on, maybe not exclusively, but definitely the things that we should be talking about. And they're the things that we've been talking about here for a long time: delivering the program, making sure we're operationally capable, making sure we're using innovation, making sure that we're taking care of our workforce. And really that's a cooperative effort, because everything we do, we either do with the public, with their input, make sure we use the planning process to develop our projects. And then the kind of the stuff we talked about with the industry meeting at the beginning, our industry partners help us deliver that. So I think a great opportunity to continue that conversation. I wanted to give you the update that we sent letters to a lot of partners to get feedback. I think the consistent feedback was they think it's a great idea that we do it. Then some other comments about things that we should be thinking about, making sure that we're including all modes of transportation, making sure that we're thinking about, different industry partners. But overall, I think the feedback was really positive. And then a lot of people that wanted to participate. It kind of started a little slow, and now the avalanche is starting to come. So we're going to have to pare that down to a workable group, but it's really great to see that people are interested and engaged. And so I'm looking forward to working with the commission to get a group that we can put together that'll be kind of an ongoing advisory role to the department as we go forward. So more to come on that. When we get the committee put together, we will report that out and get to work. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director. Just to add on to that, and I mentioned this last night when we were at the chamber event, the energy that we've had around transportation in the state, the communication, all of those things, the partners, that's led us to this point that we're at, to where we have historic funding within the STIP. We have I-70 being expanded across the state. We have work going on I-44. We have our low volume roads in the state that have been invested in. All of that is because of the people in this room and the people throughout the state that, spend their time and energy on these topics and understand that infrastructure is important to us as a whole. So, Director, appreciate you. And I think the Director's Advisory Council is really going to add a layer in that's going to just make us better as a department. So thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Smith, do you have any
Just,
comments?
no, I was just going to say, I look forward to getting this information today, and I really look forward to getting this started in January. The partnerships and their input is very important to our projects, and with such a large step, we are efficient, and the success is very important. So I look forward to seeing you work more with these partners. So it'll be good. Yes, it's real.
Commissioner Erdman. Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, well, we're here in Kansas City today, and I want to thank the MoDOT staff, the cost share committee, my colleagues on the commission. I want to thank the district office staff, and I want to thank the city of Kansas City for awarding the largest cost share award in MoDOT's history for the I-670 South Loop project. This is an enormously important project for our hometown here. I so appreciate the work of Chris Redline to work with the community, his staff. I so appreciate the staff of the committee that reviewed this application. And I so appreciate the support of my colleagues around the table here. When this project is completed, it will be transformational. And it is very meaningful to me that the staff and the commission have decided to move forward with this grant to allow this project to go forward and to address the highway issues under the lid. So on behalf of my fellow Kansas Cityans, thanks to all of the above, and we can't wait to get started.
Hey. Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. Okay, next, we're going to move into our public presentations. First, we have the Mid-America Regional Council that will be introduced by Chris Redline. And Chris, I almost did it again this time and jumped ahead of you. So I'm going to let Chris introduce our first speaker. So, Chris.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Director Hassinger, Secretary Harlan. Thanks for having us to Kansas City. Like I said, our first speaker is Ron Akpol from Mid-America Regional Council. We have an absolutely outstanding relationship with Ron and his team at Mid-America Regional Council. And Ron actually used to be a MoDOT employee, and we hated to lose him, but we sure are glad he ended up at MARC. So with that, Ron.
Thank you, Chris. Morning, Ron.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Boatwright, members of the commission. It's a real pleasure to be here today to welcome you back to Kansas City and on behalf of the Mid-America Regional Council. And as folks in the room know, we're the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Council of Governments for the Kansas City area. Over the last year or so, we've expanded our transportation planning work to include Ray County, which had been a member of MARC for a number of years. And so we've got all 9 counties in the Kansas City MARC area now as part of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. As Chris said, I had the pleasure of working for and with MoDOT for my entire career. I started out in the the St. Joseph office as a design engineer. Worked in the Kansas City office as a design squad leader and a district planning manager before I came to MARC. And we've always held a great regard for MoDOT and our relationship with the commission and MoDOT over the years. So today I really wanted to focus on some of the partnerships we've got. I've got nothing but compliments for the commission today. And I'd like to begin by congratulating you on the recent selection of Mr. Hassinger to serve as the next MoDOT director. Ed, we know you, and we know you're perfect for this role. And your appointment really expands the confidence that MoDOT has earned among decision makers, partners, and the public. And we look forward to working with you to advance the momentum MoDOT has built over recent years. We know you'll bring outstanding leadership to the promising opportunities ahead for Missouri, and we look forward to continuing the outstanding relationship we have with the entire MoDOT team as we collaborate to strengthen MoDOT's transportation system. And next, I wanted to provide some kudos to, once again, to Ed, but also Chris Redline, James Flum, and the entire team of MoDOT, City of Kansas City, Burns and McDonald, H&TB, and Amassman Clarksman for completing the new Buck O'Neill Bridge project on time and on budget. We were honored to serve an early role in the planning and funding of the project. And it really stands as a tangible and durable example of the power of partnerships. This wasn't an easy project to deliver. Creativity and compromises were required along the way, but it was really worth all the hard work that was required of the commission, of MoDOT, Kansas City, Missouri, and the region to pull this together. It really started as a crisis and transformed into an opportunity. And you've all heard the story, but it's a great one, so I'm going to tell it again. What began as an obsolete and deteriorating structure on MoDOT system with limited funding available to do much more than and replace it in kind, which the community did not want. We were able to work together to come up with a solution that provided the new crossing that we see today that provides so many more opportunities for the community. It will serve motorists, pedestrians, bicyclists, the communities in the region for decades to come. And so congratulations to you all on a job well done. It's been a long road to get to the point we are now, but it's great to see it open and operating again. I also wanted to talk about the work we did together on a crisis of a different kind over the last couple of years. MARC, MoDOT, the transportation planning agencies around the state really had to work together to address a kind of a funding crisis that came about because of the opportunity of new funding in the bipartisan infrastructure law, infrastructure and Jobs Act that created a situation where a lot of the funding for the states around the country was being redistributed every summer. Not every state was able to use all of their allocation. Not all of the discretionary programs in the bill were being used at the rate needed to preserve the obligation authority that it provided. And so, and this was also coming at the same time as local governments and others were coming out of the COVID pandemic, which created a lot of new obstacles for delivering federal aid projects. They range from staff shortages at the local level and frankly at the state level too in some cases, to port closures that made it difficult to do clear right of way for projects and a lot of other issues. We work together with MoDOT and the commission and our partners around the state. I see Sarah Field from Springfield in the room as well, to make sure that we were drawing down the unobligated balances of these federal funds that allowed MoDOT to have access to more redistributed funds that came about every summer. And so this last year, every one of the planning partners around the state was able to meet or exceed the targets that had been set for obligation of funding. In the Kansas City area, we were able to obligate about 128% of our annual appropriation for this. And it's making a difference in drawing down those unobligated balances and putting the state in a better position to compete for those funds in the future. Work's not done. We're going to have to continue to chip away at this over the next few years. And we're fully supportive of these efforts. But we also look forward to continuing to work with the MoDOT staff on improvements and innovations in the local public agency project delivery program to make sure that we're able to more regularly draw these balances down and spend these funds without kind of the extraordinary efforts that we've had to take over the last couple of years to deliver that. That included some kind of extra work to increase the allocation to a lot of projects that probably received more funding than they would have through normal order of programming funds here. But in the Kansas City area, we were able to draw down balances for all of our surface transportation block grant funds, chipped away at the carbon reduction program funds, the congestion mitigation air quality program funds, and the SDBG set aside funds that used to be the transportation improvement program, or used to be the transportation alternatives program. So looking ahead over the next year, Mark and MoDOT are working together on a number of other planning efforts. Mark is in the process of completing the update to the Connected KC 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This is a document that will sort of guide investment in the region for the next 25 years. It's an important foundational planning document, part of the metropolitan planning process. We'll also be updating and adopting a new transportation improvement program that will commit federal funds through 2030 in the Kansas City metro area. And MoDOT, Mark, and a lot of other partners in the region are working together with KC 2026 to support the transportation planning and operations for the upcoming World Cup games that are going to be in our region in 553 days. The KC 2026 sure is counting. That's a stat I got off of their website this morning. We're also working to complete an update to the region's freight transportation plan and the region's comprehensive transportation safety action plan. And this time around, we're doing this in partnership with our neighbors to the east, the Pioneer Trails Regional Council. So the entire Kansas City district is involved in this work to update those two studies. And we are also working with MoDOT and with Kansas City and with other partners in a lot of different corridor studies and environmental studies, and they impact facilities from I-70, I-35, Bruce Watkins US 71, work that we're focused on that impacts the US 24 corridor in Independence and Sugar Creek in Kansas City. Work with the Kansas City Streetcar Authority is doing to look at the possibility of extending that system north of the river on or near the Heart of America Bridge and Route 9. In some cases, MoDOT is leading the work. In some cases, Mark is leading the work. In some cases, others are leading it. But these are all important planning efforts that will, like the Beyond the Loop study that helped build support for the work on Buck O'Neill. These are going to inform our planning priorities for a number of years into the future, and they'll have an impact on the work we do on an annual basis to identify unfunded needs in the Kansas City area. And so, in conclusion, I just wanted to say that all of this work will continue to build and enhance our relationship. It's been an effective one over the years, over the 52 years that Mark has been in existence and working with the commission. And so, as always, it's really been a pleasure to join you as you do your important work today here in Kansas City. And thank you for your time and attention. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ron. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Vice Chair?
Yeah, Ron, thank you for appearing again. Ron is one of those unsung heroes of Kansas City who is behind the scenes making things happen and deserves the recognition for that. For all these years, I consider him to be an unsung hero of our community. I just want to make comment about for those who are listening online, who like fellow Kansas Citians in the room, the way we do long-term capital planning in Missouri is exceptional. We do a 5-year capital plan that rolls forward every year, is updated every year. And we do it largely at the control of the local planning agencies, the local governments associations, if you will. Mark is that for Kansas City. This is very essential to the success of MoDOT, this long-term capital planning. It isn't driven by Jefferson City, it's driven by regional planning organizations and their government members, municipalities mostly. And so this is an important feature of Missouri's highway success, and it's something we need to defend and protect. There are forces who would like to change the way this is done. I, as one Missourian, think that would be a terrible thing to do. And I want all of my colleagues here in Kansas City and listening online to know how valuable this local planning process is with MoDOT and how essential it is to our future success. And thank you on behalf of the Mid-America Regional Council for your leadership.
Thank you, Vice Chair Erdman. Director, do you have any comments?
I think we've had an ongoing relationship, and Ron is a true leader in planning and transportation and has been for decades. So it's great to work with people that are passionate about it, understand it, and I think he underplays the role that he played in the Buck O'Neill Bridge. The idea that putting not only the plan together, but then to assemble the funding, you think about it, it was MoDOT, it was the region saying, I'm going to put some of our local money into that. The city of Kansas City, our Congressman Graves bringing some federal money to the table. That's the kind of stuff it takes to get big things done now. You got to be able to work together, and you got to bring money and funding from all facets. And Ron was really the kind of the grease behind the wheel that got that done. So Ron, thank you for facilitating that.
Thank you, Director. Ron, thank you again. Appreciate it. Next, we're going to move into our MoDOT presentations. The next item is it's an agenda action item. Kenny Voss, State Design Engineer, will present bids for considerations. Kenny.
Good morning, Chairman Boatwright, Commissioners, Director Hassinger, Secretary, and Counselor. I'm pleased to announce that we've continued to get great bids on our lettings that we have, even though we continue to award the record number of projects for MoDOT. So for the November 15, 2024 bid opening, MoDOT received 140 bids on 48 calls. We recommend the following to you today. to award all calls to the lowest responsive bidder, except for calls D08 located in the Central District and H07 located in the Southeast District. We recommend rejection of calls D08 and H01 due to excessive bids per section 102.15A of the Missouri Standard Specifications for Highway Construction. We also had a special letting this month on November 27th. This is for a project located in Kansas City District to replace two bridges over I-70. We recommend the commission award call C09 to the lowest responsive bidder for this project or for this bid opening. We also recommend the bid of Phillips Hardy Incorporated for call A01 and Hardy Construction LLC for calls A03 in the Northwest District from the October 18th, 2024 bid opening to be declared non-responsive per section 103.2.2 of the Missouri Standard Specification for Highway Construction. With that, we also recommend these two calls be awarded to the next lowest responsive bidder for that letting. These are our recommendations for you today.
Thank you, Kenny. Any questions or comments?
I'd just like to, first of all, Kenny, thank you and your team for the great work you do. It is important that we have competitive bids, and what I found as a member of this organization is that you do a great job, that your team, to make sure that we get work hard to make sure we get competitive bids so that we can use every dollar that we have in the most efficient way. So thank you for your work. Really appreciate it, and very proud to see such tremendous talent within the organization.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to our team. And I think, you know, what Ed talked about for the industry meeting, it's really important that we plan when we're doing these projects so that we do have competition, spread that work out over the months so that we have contractor resources for that bidding timeline. So.
Yeah, and yesterday, Kenny, you provided us that we had 3 bids average across every project, which is tremendous. We haven't had that in a while. Director, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I just say this is probably another record, but in the last 2 months, if you award these projects, you will have awarded $1 billion worth of construction in 2 months. 2 months, so pretty incredible.
It is.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Hageman.
Thank you. Kenny, I do appreciate the work you do, and I also appreciate that you hold the contractors accountable to make sure that they deliver on what they've bid on and what they promised to bring to the citizens of the state of Missouri. And that holding them accountable is very important in my mind to deliver a great service for the citizens of the state of Missouri. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Well, with that, do we have a motion to second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Kenny, do you have a budget update for us?
Yes, sir. So today's awards are for a total of $190 million, which is $23.3 million under budget. So for today's awards result in a state fiscal year 2025 award total to date of $1.5 billion.
That's tremendous.
Which is a savings of 3.8% or $60 million under budget on $1.57 billion worth of work. So halfway through the year, we've awarded $1.5 billion worth of work, which is incredible. Just amazing to say that. So the other thing I wanted to mention is this bid opening also had 3 additional Governor Rural Route resurfacing projects in that, totaling $11.7 million, which were about $0.3 million under budget. So to date, for the state fiscal year, we have awarded $91 million on 19 projects for that program. So I've almost awarded all of the $100 million that the governor and the legislature approved for that program for this year.
That's tremendous. And to that point, you know, to see the prices and see the competition that we've seen on those projects is tremendous too, because I mentioned this last month. We're not only putting together a base contract, but we're putting alternatives in there as well. And there were several that our biggest wish list was come to fruition on some of those projects. So yeah, tremendous.
Yeah.
Thank you and your team. Kenny.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up, Chris Redline again. He is going to give us an update. He is the district engineer for the Kansas City District, and he is going to give us an update on the work going on in his district. So, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning again, and welcome to Kansas City. Talked to you about 12 months ago, so I'm going to talk to you about what's gone on the last year. There we go. Okay, just a kind of summary of who is the Kansas City District. We have 9 counties. We have 1.3 million folks live here. We have 3,000 miles of highway, about 8,000 lane miles to maintain. And what's interesting about Kansas City is we have 2 planning organizations we work with. We also have very, very rural aspects and also very highly urban aspects that we manage through. I'm going to talk a lot about the good things we've done. But we lost an employee September 24th. So could I ask that we take a brief moment of silence for Jay Bone, who was killed on September 24th? Thank you. And I do want to recognize we have Missouri State Highway Patrol here, and they were instrumental in helping our staff that witnessed this tragedy move through that. We utilized their defense program. They met with us 2 days later, and they were outstanding. So Highway Patrol, thank you so much. I appreciate our partnership. Here's our staffing update. We have 630 folks we have 630 available openings. We're at 529 currently. So we're 101 under, 69 of those are in operations. Most of those are actually in the urban area. A lot of those are snowplow folks. We still have our Mulberry facility closed, which is our maintenance facility in the West Bottoms. They're consolidated at our Stadium North facility, and we just can't seem to get over the hump there. The good news is that we are in an upward trend on hiring, and the rest of the state is doing a lot better also. So we're definitely headed in the right direction. We had the opportunity several weeks ago to celebrate our veterans, where we went to Whiteman Air Force Base for a tour. And this is a picture of our folks in front of an A-10 Warthog, which I think a lot of people have heard about the Warthog. They're actually phasing that out across the country. And from what they told us is the maintenance crews are so stellar at Whiteman, that'll be the last contingent that's phased out because they've maintained their aircraft so stellar. Here's an update on our bridge and pavements. Our major routes are almost 90% good. Minors are 73. Low volumes are near 90. And we have 1,400 bridges we take care of, and 64 of those are in poor condition. So overall, we're doing very well on our system condition. Safety update. Unfortunately, we've had 25 of our employees get hurt this year. What is really interesting is we've only had 5 TMA hits through 3 quarters. That's down 11 from this time last year. Probably gonna ask what's causing that reduction. I think it's a couple things. We're doing a lot more advanced warning. We also are upgrading our boards to where they're much more visible. But unfortunately, 2 of those crashes were just absolutely catastrophic, and it's amazing nobody was killed in those. So that risk is still out there. Our folks have had 9 backing incidents. We've got 21 strains and sprains, and we've had 156 highway fatalities, unfortunately. You've heard a little bit about our litter efforts and operations efforts, but here's what we have going on as far as contracted operations. And Commissioner Erdman, to answer your question from last night, it's about $3.5 million we're spending on litter and debris removal type things. You notice towards the bottom, we have several initiatives to help with the unsheltered and homeless populations. Included in that cost is a human compassion component, where we actually attempt to get those folks into services to try to help them get on a path to a better way of life, which is really unique. And it's kind of a model for the country, really. And here's just a chart that shows our homeless calls. You can see we peaked in 2022, the trend line's still going up, but if you look at 2022, our homeless calls are plummeting. So that's showing me that our efforts are paying off to our customers, that they're seeing it as well. And also on the litter, same thing. We peaked in 2021 and the trend line is going down there, fortunately, and we keep seeing a reduction in litter calls. And what's really interesting is just a few minutes ago, I received an email from one of our customers who, let's say he is very passionate about litter. He emailed us to thank us for our efforts just a few minutes ago, and I hadn't heard from him for a year. And just out of nowhere, he just emailed me and Matt. Very nice of him to recognize that. Here's how litter happens. You can see the trash truck with junk blowing out the back. This is just kind of a summary. We followed him for, I don't know, 2-3 miles, Matt, probably. I've seen a lot worse than that. Unfortunately, when I see it, I'm by myself, so I can't drive and video. I was fortunate to have Matt with me. He was able to video, but we have hundreds of these trucks running around the metro every day, making many, many trips a day. And if they're spewing trash like that, it messes the highways up really fast. So what are we doing about it? We have a 3-prong approach to try to prevent it. Education, enforcement, and then we're engaging the haulers one-on-one. On the education, back earlier this year, we sent letters to, 60 or 70 haulers. We explained to them that MoDOT spends upwards of $14 million every single year to pick up trash, and we don't put a lick of it there. We reminded them of their legal obligations that are required by law to secure their loads. Also discussed the importance of quality tarping. And containment is critical for the unloaded trucks too, because we see a lot of times trucks leaving, they don't completely empty the loads and the wind gets whipping around. And it's actually can be worse when they're quote empty. And then we also provide them a notice of our partnership. Again, thank you, Highway Patrol, for enforcement efforts that were going to happen. And to those enforcement efforts, they focused on landfills and transfer stations all across the metro, even out in Sedalia. They've ran 5 operations since June. They've inspected 147 trucks. They found 222 violations, and 41 of those were load securement related. And we also do one-on-one engagement. Every time I see a trash truck losing its load, I write on my hand the truck number, and then I go find out how to contact them, and I send them an email or a letter explaining to them their obligations. As luck would have it, I followed one Monday losing trash, and so I sent them an email, and this is the 4th time I've had to contact this hauler, and they were still spewing trash on I-70. I asked everybody in the district to keep an eye out and to call me personally and let me know. And then I do reach out to these haulers one-on-one. And then eventually I will copy Highway Patrol if they become repeat offenders, just for Highway Patrol's awareness. Project updates. We have a lot going on. I'm just going to highlight a few things. This is kind of our bread and butter, taking care of the system. We rehab the 435 bridges over Raytown Road near the stadiums. That's, this work is very impactful traffic wise, but it has to be done. And our contractor did a great job on that. For those of you in the area, remember we had that old segment and barrier north of the downtown airport. And when that stuff gets hit, tips over. We took advantage of the low traffic on 169 because of the Buck O'Neill project to actually upgrade that barrier to a monolithic solid concrete. So we shouldn't have near the maintenance issues up there, and it's safer for the public as well. Route 92 bridge, this is interesting. This is a bridge that we have plenty of clearance. It's like 16'6", and somebody managed to hit it hard. And we're able to keep it open to very limited traffic. And Jeff Hardy's here, but Jeff did a great job managing that project. It happened earlier this year. He got the girder ordered. The girders ordered. So when we closed it after school was out of session, we're able to get in there and get the job done before school opened. So, and we are going to recover, I think the job's maybe 1.1 million, and we will recover near $1 million from the insurance company to help pay for that. And this job is open. I talked to you about it last year. It was open earlier this year, but this is very important to the folks, particularly Friday afternoons going to Lake of the Ozarks. The job is complete and it's working pretty well. And Ron talked about this. Buccaneer was open to all traffic on November 26th. That was a $220 million project. And it was just wonderful. We had Governor Parson come to do a ribbon cutting on September 30th at a wonderful event. So we're glad to get that project open. And James Plum, thank you. We also have Improved I-70 KC that was awarded to Clarkson Rodmacher. That's $237 million project. That's going to go from essentially downtown out to just west of the stadiums, west of 435. That includes repairing or rehabilitating 15 bridges, adding a lane going eastbound, making improvements to the Jackson and Benton curve. So we got a lot of things going on there. We're going to improve the base infrastructure. Is going to improve safety. It's also going to improve mobility in the Kansas City region. This was mentioned earlier by the director, but working with the city, downtown council and others on South Loop Link, it runs from Bartle to Grand. We have a very good partnership and MoDOT is plugged into those discussions very well. And we're glad we're able to help and get some infrastructure improvements underneath ourselves that'll last for many, many decades to come. And this was mentioned too, World Cup. We're heavily engaged in this with a bunch of different committees and parties around the region, but we're going to have our Fan Fest at World War I Memorial. It's an absolutely great venue to have it, but getting to and from it is going to be a challenge. We have 6 matches total. We have 4 group stage matches, a round of 32 and a quarterfinal, which is a really big deal. We started playing for this a couple of years ago. Once it was announced, we're scheduling our jobs around World Cup, essentially in June and July of 2026. And like I mentioned earlier, we're heavily involved with the KC 2026 committee. And before I open up for questions, none of what I just talked about would get done without my outstanding staff. And I have a bunch of our management team here. So if you wouldn't mind, just please stand and be recognized for your great work. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Well, Chris, thank you. Any questions, comments for Chris?
I have just a comment, Chris, this litter deal, you've done a tremendous job. As you come up 49 highway through Grandview and Belton down there, it was so bad. And just everywhere you drive now, you're doing a good job on it. Stay on those trash haulers and make them keep those loads covered. We appreciate it. You got a lot of great stuff going on in Kansas City. It's great. And thank you and your team for the great job. You're a huge asset to this organization.
No doubt. Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Hegman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a number of things. Chris, I think I agree with Commissioner Smith. You're doing a great job down here. It's wonderful. We hated to lose you out of St. Joe, but it's nice to have you down here on the western side, still taking care of our needs. The litter thing, partnerships that we have there is great. Working with the KCPD, the Highway Patrol, our partners there in addressing the problem. But also I would give a compliment to the media, which I don't do that very often. But they raised the awareness of this issue as well. And actually one time the media was really very advantageous to the community. They're advantageous many times, but this was one that particularly stood out. And it's appreciated. And I want to show my appreciation to them for that as well. Working with our communities out there, you're doing a great job with that. The Cass County communities down there on Interstate 49, 7 Highway, and then Belton and Raymore. You've been good to work with them as well. And then working with Platte City on the 92 bridge, an emergency repair there. You really engaged with them. You kept it open, which, I'm surprised we're able to do that, but it really is a major artery up there. And you found a way to be able to do that and narrowed down for a while, but really got on that and got that taken care of in a timely manner. You delivered. You did a great job with that. Thank you for all your efforts and your whole team's efforts out there. And just wanted to express my deepest appreciation for what you and your team do here in the Kansas City area. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hageman. Commissioner Erdman.
Well, thanks again. I echo what's been said. in Kansas City, we're doing big things, really, really big things. And it takes a lot of effort to make big things happen on time and on schedule. And that's what's happening. And it's so important that we talk about that so people know the success we're experiencing. Right up the way here, the Buck O'Neill Bridge, a very big thing, on time, on schedule, on budget. And we are going to benefit for generations from that project. And I want to extend the commission's thanks to the Massman Clarkson team for a job well done. Very proud of that. I also think people by now probably have gathered that we're pretty serious about the trash. We are definitely serious about this, and we are going to continue to be on it. Chris drives around, he sees somebody, he's on them immediately. It's the same approach we take here downtown, and it's making a difference. I want to end by observing something that's really important. A year ago, we were in this meeting, and our friends from the Belton River area came to us, and in public commentary, they shared with us some disappointment had with the department. And, you know, they've done, at times we deserve to hear that. In this case, they shared a disappointment they had about the I-49 corridor. And we listened to that, and we apologized for a mistake. And then we got busy and we went out and met with them. And the result is we now have a critical new interchange at Missouri 58 and I-49 that is underway and received a $20 million general revenue appropriation. And as a result of that input, that public input, we listened, we acted, and now we're making that investment. And I say that because we are very attentive to public comment. And so when people come before us, we take note, and this is a good example of where we owned up to it. And then we went in and we got that interchange funded, and it's under design and will bring long-lasting benefit. That's really all I had. I know you wanted to close on something, so that's what I wanted to close on.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. One thing that I wanted to point out, Chris, you know, the work that's been done on the homelessness side, a lot of folks may not correlate that to actual damage on the system, but some of the encampments, we had some serious damage on bridges going across I-70 that were impacting the reliability of the system. And we're not talking about cheap. We're talking about very costly damage in the tune of millions of dollars to fix these things. So I just want to commend you and your staff on the work that you've done on the litter, the work that you've done on the homelessness, the partnerships within the community that have worked on these items. I mean, just to echo on everything that's been said, you have really, and this area has really done some tremendous work that I think is a model for the rest of the country on how to handle, be compassionate, and do all of these things. And I just commend you on that and thank you for the work that you've done here in Kansas City. So
Thank you. I
thanks,
think
Chris.
Sean with Downtown Council's here somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
You're a partner. Did Sean leave? Okay.
He's picking up trash.
That's right.
He's picking up trash, but I did hear a very terrible statistic. I asked how many people they find passed away on right away, or not on right away, but just homeless people in general. And they're thinking it's around 20 a year.
Oh, wow.
20 souls a year. And so it's critical that we do this outreach component to try to get folks help, because it is absolutely unsafe to live on the right of way.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah. Unsafe for the drivers and unsafe for them too. So thank you, Chris.
appreciate the
Appreciate it.
opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next item is MoDOT presentation from Todd and Financial Services. So Todd Grosvenor, the floor is yours, sir.
All righty, thank you. Good morning, Chairman Boatright, Commissioners, Director. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about cost share. This presentation is in conjunction with that consent agenda item that you pulled previously. All right, MoDOT currently administers two cost share projects, the MoDOT cost share program and the Governor's Transportation Cost Share Program. Now, both these programs build partnerships with local entities to pool efforts and resources to deliver highway and bridge projects. I'll talk about the MoDOT cost share program first. Now, Ed talked a little bit about this. This program, the current program as we have in place, has been around 20 years. MoDOT matches up to 50% of the total project costs. You'll hear us refer to that as a MoDOT 50-50. And then we also set aside a percentage of funds that the project would generate economic development. And we provide up to 100% of the project costs on those. Project sponsors can submit cost share applications 3 times a year in June, September, and December. The applications are developed with help from the district office staff that help with the project scope and then the estimated costs. Applications must be supported by the local planning organizations in that area and by the local district engineer. Projects must be on the state highway system for this program, though, because this program is funded by the state road fund. The applications are reviewed and ranked by a team of staff from financial services, transportation planning, highway safety and traffic, design, maintenance, chief counsel's office, and also the Department of Economic Development. So we pull experts out of each one of those sections to look over their parts on these projects. So they're reviewed very thoroughly. The applications are ranked by transportation need, public benefit, economic development, and the applicant's share of the total project costs. The applications are presented to the committee for consideration, and that committee is made up of MoDOT's chief engineer, the chief financial officer, assistant chief engineer, and 2 members selected by the director, which currently that's the chief administrative officer and government relations director. If approved by the committee, the 50-50 cost share projects are presented to the commission for approval via a STIP amendment. And the economic development set-aside projects are presented to you as a regular or a consent agenda item, and then if approved, follow up with a STIP amendment. Cost share program has been very successful over the last 2 decades. The cost share program has leveraged $1.03 of local cash for every dollar that's been set aside for the cost share program, and it's delivered almost $1.8 billion of highway and bridge projects in the state of Missouri. I can't do a presentation without a chart, so here we go. Here is the annual allocations. Going back a little bit though, from 2004 to 2011, the cost share program was $30 million a year. Now this grew to $35 million in 2012 and then up to $45 million in 2013. The program was suspended in January 2014 due to declining transportation funding and our redirected focus on taking care of the system. Now, as shown in this chart, the program was reinstated in fiscal year 2018 at $10 million, and then it incrementally grew back up to the $45 million by 2024. And another change that was made, the economic development set aside, that top orange part, it was 10% of the total program up until 2023. In 2024, that was increased to 20% for that set aside. Okay, so this chart here shows the cost share 50-50 money. You've got the funds that are made available, that's the blue bar, the amount that's been committed, and then the ending balance for, we've got the last 8 5-year STIPs up there. That's how it's shown on the axis at the bottom. And then we've got year to date of the current year STIP all the way through. We had a meeting in September and in December of this month, and that is shown in those on the data there. But as you can see, over the time period, the cost share money is starting to grow. The last 3 or 4 years, it's grown all the way up to $95 million. Now we make the cost share money available in the STIP the same way we do the STIP funding. Years 1, 2, and 3, 100% of the money is available, and year 4 and 5, 50% of the money is available. This is the same data as far as the available and committed. But the red line shows a different way of looking at this as a utilization. How much of the funding in that 5-year STIP is being utilized? And again, you can see in the last 3 or 4 years, that's declined down to currently for this year, it's only 34% programmed. And we only have one more meeting left in June. And typically our June meeting is a pretty small meeting, maybe $1 or $2 million in projects that we approve. This is the set aside for economic development, the same kind of data, and then it shows the trend also of, this is a little bit steeper of the funding growing all the way up to $36 million. We have not had any requests for the economic development money so far this year. And again, this is just the same information, but it shows a little bit more of the story. If you do the utilization, as I said, there's been 0% so far this year, and it shows the decline of it. And the way to look at it is the way we split the money up. If the first year is fully programmed, that'd be about 25% of the money. So as you can see in the 24 to 28 STIP, we didn't even allocate all of the money for this program in the current year. And any money that's not programmed in that current year after the next 5-year STIP comes on board from the economic development, that by policy is moved into the cost share program. It doesn't leave the program, it stays in it, but it does move over to the cost share side. And that was the first year we've ever done that, whereas about $500,000 went from the economic development into the cost share. The other program most recently that we administer now is the Governor's Transportation Cost Share. We use the same application and review process for this as we do the MoDOT Cost Share program. The difference is though, there was just 2 rounds of funding for this. The funding source was not the state road fund. So applications could be for any public road or bridge project satisfying a transportation need. And we limited the applications to the construction contracts only. The other program, we do PE right away and design and construction engineering on all that. This we limited just for construction. Applications were ranked by economic impact, applicant share of total project cost, transportation need, public benefit, and project readiness. We were trying to get projects that were ready to go on this. The Cost Share Committee, their project funding recommendations are presented to the commission by a regular agenda item. The first round, we refer to it as round 1 or 2019. That's the legislative year that the funding was approved. It was $50 million of GR and CARES Act. We had 17 projects approved, total estimated cost of $117 million. So that means $67 million was brought forward by our partners on this to deliver those projects. 50% of the funding was allocated to the project on state routes and 43% was for local routes. Of those 17 projects, 11 are complete, 4 are in construction, and 2 are in the design phase. And from what I heard just the other day, those are ready to move to the construction stage, I think this month. So we're doing very well on that. Currently, there's $16 million that has not been spent yet. And any remaining balances of the GR funds, that has to be at fiscal year end, if there's any balance, has to be reappropriated by the General Assembly. Round 2, which came in the legislative session of 2022, it was more money, it was $75 million, and it came from the Budget Stabilization Fund. 28 projects, estimated cost of $176 million. So it was $101 million that came forward from local entities, which was great leveraging on that. 53% of the funding went to projects on state routes, and the remaining 47 was local routes. The status of these 28 projects, 2 are complete. We've got 10 in construction and 16 in design, and $63 million remaining to be spent. And again, this money at year end, any balances will have to be reappropriated by the General Assembly. And that concludes my presentation of the cost share program. Is there any questions I can address for you?
Let me turn this on. Thank you, Todd. Any questions, comments? Vice Chair?
Well, this is a great opportunity for communities around the state. The fact that it's being underutilized, I suppose, is a little disappointing. I'm glad here in Kansas City, we just got a big one. But it seems to me it's a bit of an underutilized opportunity, and I would encourage Missouri communities to become conversant about this because I think it's a tremendous opportunity to do things that might not otherwise be in the long-range plan. I'm also wanting to mention the Missouri Transportation Finance Corporation. It offers bridge loans, and I've told people here in Kansas City several times that we ought to be a little more aggressive in looking at using that. I don't recall us approving a loan from that program in a long time. And I'm hopeful that those that might be in the audience today who know of transportation projects that need a shot in the arm, I'm hoping the MTFC loan program might be more robustly used in the future, as well as the cost share program. Thanks for the information.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk today because it's education to inform people about it. Yeah, in the 2000s and in the 2010s, we had MTFC loans that were actually to accelerate the cost share money in the outer years that wasn't even allocated available to them yet. And they would pay the interest on it. Cost share program would actually make the MTFC loan payments. Historically, we've been very successful putting those two programs together to deliver projects. Since COVID, over the last several years, there just hasn't been the demand, as you said, for the MTFC or the cost share program. I personally think it has a lot to do with our record STIP. You got to remember back in the early 2000s, it was pretty lean. This was a way to buy the project up in the line quicker. I think we'll get back to that eventually, but for right now, glad we're able to educate people, inform people about the balances out there. Financial services works with the district, educating them to let them know this is a tool in the toolbox to be able to build projects.
So Todd, just to follow up, so for the folks in the room that aren't familiar with cost share, what's your advice to them for starting that process? Is it going to the regional planning partners? Is it coming directly to the district engineers, to the area engineers? How do you get the process started utilizing cost share?
All of the above, whatever they're most comfortable, their closest person to talk to, the partner, all those individuals you just mentioned all need to be involved in one point or another. I would say contact the district office and the area engineer or the planning person or the district engineer. Somebody will meet with them, explain the program, and then talk about what project they want to deliver and see how we can make that all work.
Okay, great. For regional partners and our metropolitan planning organizations, just know that this is out there, and well, the commission is a huge supporter of this cost share because it really can get projects off the ground that would otherwise have to go through the entire step process and take a long time to get to. So just know that this is out there. It's being underutilized. Hopefully we can multiply some dollars and get some energy going back towards this cost share. And it's exciting that the Kansas City and the region's taking advantage of it on the 670 project. So really appreciate what you and your team do. And thank you for the update today, Todd. Okay. Director, you want to add anything? I think so. You're good? Okay. Thank you, Todd. Next on the agenda is a MoDOT presentation. John Nelson, State Highway Safety and Traffic Engineer, will update us on building safer roadways. John, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director. It's really a privilege to be here today to have this opportunity to share about the progress that's been made in MoDOT's ongoing mission to provide a transportation system that is safe. As we've already heard this morning, we lose hundreds of family members, friends, co-workers, and neighbors in traffic crashes every year. And while we've seen reduction in traffic fatalities for 2 years in a row, there remains plenty of work to do. As you know, MoDOT is involved in a lot of activities and programs to help promote safe transportation in this state. course, there's the public awareness campaigns like Buckle Up, Phone Down that remind all of us about the responsibility we share to use the system in a safe manner. MoDOT's Highway Safety Grant Program and our support of the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety provide opportunities for MoDOT staff and our highway safety partners to engage Missourians every day with the message of highway safety. From school activities and community events to public service announcements and educational programs, not a day goes by in our state where someone isn't talking about safety on the roadways. And while these behavioral programs are a critical component to improving highway safety in Missouri, they represent only a portion of the work MoDOT is doing to provide a safe transportation system. The department is also investing millions of dollars every year through the statewide Transportation Improvement Program, or the STIP, to build infrastructure improvements that are designed to prevent, mitigate, or minimize the consequences of these unsafe driving behaviors. So this morning, I'd like to just share with you an update on the tremendous work the MoDOT team has been delivering through hundreds of projects in the STIP over the past several years, efforts that are saving lives and reducing serious injuries. To begin, I should point out that like other state DOTs, MoDOT receives federal funds every year that are designated for infrastructure safety improvements. Now, these are funds that cannot be used for everyday asset management needs such as pavement resurfacing or bridge deck repair. Rather, they must be used on improvements that specifically address a demonstrated safety need or proactively mitigate a crash risk. And there are a number of improvements that can qualify for this funding, but some of the more well-known treatments are things like median guard cable, paved shoulders, rumble stripes, geometric improvements, and safer intersection designs. And for decades, the department has been utilizing these funds to enhance safety on thousands of miles of roads in the state. Beginning with federal fiscal year 2022, the amount of federal safety funding made available to the states increased as a result of the bipartisan infrastructure law, and Missouri currently receives around $78 million a year that are specifically designated for infrastructure improvements to reduce serious crashes. Before I get into the most recent results of MoDOT's infrastructure safety program, I would like to take a couple of minutes to share a brief history of safety funds in Missouri. The program has not been without its challenges, but over the past decade, the MoDOT team has made tremendous progress in ensuring safety funds are being used in the best ways possible. Under the previous federal transportation bill, which was known as the FAST Act, Missouri received anywhere from $56 to $59 million each year in federal safety funds from 2017 to 2020. And the bill provided a modest increase in safety funding each year, and you can think of this as new money coming to the state each year. This is represented by the blue bars on the chart. At the onset of the FAST Act, only $25 million of those safety funds were being distributed to the districts for programming improvements in the STIP. And there may have been multiple reasons for this, but the biggest reason was that at that time, there was less overall transportation funding available in the state. Therefore, the vast majority of MoDOT's construction program was focused on taking care of the system and not necessarily adding to it. So as a result, there was only so much capacity in the STIP at that time for including safety improvements. Fortunately, passage of the FAST Act helped stabilize transportation funding in our state. And as the overall construction program began to grow in fiscal year 17, so too did MoDOT's ability to begin including more safety improvements on projects in the STIP. And accordingly, the commission at that time elected to increase the distribution of safety funds from $25 million to $35 million, narrowing the gap between the amount of federal safety funds received and the amount made available to the districts for programming in the STIP. And that decision really jump-started the progress that we're reporting on today. And the MoDOT district teams have really taken full advantage and made sure that those additional funds were put to work by including safety improvements on more projects. So years later, when the bipartisan infrastructure law replaced the FAST Act, again, that amount of federal safety funding made available to the states increased significantly. And once again, the commission at that time elected to increase the safety fund distribution, closing the gap even more so than before. And like before, this decision also provided a great opportunity to impact safety on Missouri roads through more projects. So by 2028, Missouri will receive approximately $78 million in federal safety funds, or 20 million more than the current distribution. Therefore, a decision today to fully distribute the safety funds beginning in FY28 would represent another significant step forward in the safety program, closing the gap that remains and also ensuring that these safety improvements remain a core component of the STIP for years to come. Now, just as funding for safety has evolved over time, so too has the process by which safety is analyzed. Historically, safety analysis has been predominantly reactive in nature, that is focusing on those locations with the most number of crashes. But today, new data sets, new tools, new processes enable MoDOT to become much more proactive in our ability to address safety. Now, this doesn't mean that we can predict where a crash is going to occur or when a crash might happen. We can't. But we can generally predict the typical behaviors and the type of risk factors that often contribute to a crash. More specifically, we know that these crashes usually occur when one vehicle leaves its lane of travel or when one road user impedes the normal lawful movement of another road user, such as one vehicle pulling out in front of another. We also know that most severe crashes often include higher levels of speed and thus more energy. So as a result, the opportunity to improve safety is no longer reserved just for projects at locations with a high number of crashes. Now, such locations are still great candidates for safety improvements, but so too are other locations. In other words, most projects offer some opportunity to consider ways that we can improve the safety of the system. So even if a project location hasn't had a lot of crashes, there are still opportunities to think about how we might help keep vehicles in their lane, how we can reduce the likelihood of conflicting vehicle movements or even lower speeds where appropriate. To help facilitate this, sorry, I went the wrong way there. MoDOT implemented the SAFER tool about 2 years ago. And SAFER on the project side stands for Safety Assessment for Every Roadway. And admittedly, it is not a high-tech innovation. Rather, it's a simple PDF with dozens of prompt questions for project teams to consider. SAFER seeks to look at projects from a variety of perspectives: intersection design, roadway visibility, pedestrian accommodations, roadside safety, and so on. And the philosophy is really simple. Every project is an opportunity to improve safety of the system. Therefore, we want to make sure we're asking the right questions with the right people to consider how the project might be best suited for safety improvements. Now, to be clear, the safety document isn't intended to change the primary purpose or the overall scope of the project. A bridge replacement is still a bridge replacement. A resurfacing job is still a resurfacing job. But while that roadway is being improved, are there things that make sense to include to proactively address safety? Are there opportunities to invest the safety funds that have been made available to the state? And that's really the goal of SAFER, and it's been especially helpful to new employees who have joined the MoDOT team. SAFER is creating a conversation on every project to consider how we might take that opportunity to not only build a good project, but to also make the system safer in the process. And when this occurs across hundreds of projects in the STIP, the impacts are meaningful. I'd like to share just a few big picture results of the SAFER document after just a couple of years of use. So the gray bars on the chart represent the 2023 to 2027 STIP from a couple years ago. The blue bars represent the most recent STIP that was adopted earlier this summer. And you can see that in just one STIP cycle of using the SAFER document, you can see how the percentage of projects including measurable safety improvements increased from 28 to 50%. And when you look a little closer and you focus on those projects that would be considered new capital projects, the increase is even greater, from 16% to 67%. And overall, while the districts were already doing a great job programming safety funds in the STIP, they have really stepped it up in the last STIP cycle with a 33% increase in the overall amount of funding of safety improvements programmed. But it's not just about how many projects are including safety or how many dollars are invested in safety. More important are the expected impacts of these improvements. And to that end, when a project team uses safety funds on a job, they are also using a data-driven tool and process to estimate how much benefit those improvements are expected to yield in terms of crash reduction or crash prevention. So for example, when we look at just the first 3 years of the current STIP, it's estimated that the safety improvements programmed in those first 3 years will save more than 200 lives over the lifespan of those improvements. Nearly 1,000 serious injuries are expected to be prevented during that same time frame. And these estimates aren't simply someone's best guess. Rather, they are based on nationally recognized models and methods for quantifying the impacts of proven safety countermeasures. So by using these tools, MoDOT can better understand not only the real-world impacts that we should expect, but we can also now measure the return on investment in ways that we never could before. And for those projects in the first 3 years of the current STIP, we're estimating that for every dollar programmed in safety, the state will see a $10 return in the societal safety benefits. At the end of the day, this ability to track, this ability to quantify, to evaluate our safety improvements provide a greater level of accountability and also more confidence when using safety funds on projects. Now, ultimately, this means that we are positioned better now than ever before to maximize our return on investment for safety funds. And while much progress has already been made, now is the opportune time to make an even bigger commitment to safety by considering the increase of fully distributing the federal safety funds made available to Missouri. We have a record construction program over the next 5 years, as we've already heard, and with this monumental program comes a never-seen-before opportunity to include even more safety improvements going forward. And by fully distributing the safety funds, we can extend these safety benefits to more roads by virtue of more projects, ultimately saving even more lives on our state's roadways. So in closing, we're continuing to build this safety culture in Missouri. And just like the public policy measures that were mentioned in the SAFER legislative packet, how those can move Missouri forward in regard to highway safety, so too can the SAFER project tool and these safety infrastructure improvements and the hard work of our district teams provide a positive impact by continually considering ways to build and maintain a transportation system that is safe for all users. I want to wrap up by extending our sincere appreciation to the MoDOT team across the state. There's been a lot of hard work put in, a lot of time for achieving such impactful results over the last several years. And I also want to extend our gratitude to the commission and to MoDOT leadership for your ongoing commitment to safety. It does not go unnoticed, and it is making a difference. So thank you again for the opportunity to be here this morning. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, no, just a comment, John, I appreciate all your update today. And we appreciate the program, trying to increase the amount of improvements to continue, stand focused on safety. And, with increased speed limits and driver inattention, it's very important that you keep doing what you're doing. And it's a great project. Thank you for the report. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Director?
I think you can see from John's passion, he's had his whole career in the traffic and highway safety arena, and we're just blessed to have his leadership in this arena. So the good results you see is from the leadership that we have in the safety arena. So thanks, John.
Yeah, I definitely love the energy, John. Thanks much. Commissioner Hageman.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for recognition. John, a good question. I think I've asked this question before, but can safety dollars be used for signage? Is that a bona fide use of the safety dollars?
Yeah, as long as that signing can be tied to a safety need, that would improve safety of the roadway.
I've seen it used in some area, like wrong way. We had an intersection that two people went up the wrong way. There was signage there already, but we enhanced it, and I appreciate the district director doing that. But I didn't know so that would be an example where it could be used for.
Yes, and we've actually had some example projects along both I-70 and I-44 on several of the interchange ramps where wrong way signing was improved through those safety funds.
Yeah. For directional signage?
You talking about like the green guide signs?
Yeah.
Probably not in most cases, unless again, there was a direct correlation with safety.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so now that we have had the update on the safer roadways and the update on cost share, I'm going to pull that consent agenda item back up, agenda item 5 on the consent agenda. And there are two things that are going to happen there. This is on the adjustments to the statewide transportation improvement program funding allocation policy. The two things that are happening, one, the 45 million that's been going to cost share, that's going to be reduced down to 30 million beginning in 2028. Now, we are super hopeful that this program takes off again and we have utilization of it. But with the downtrend that we have, we're going to reduce that at this time. That can change pretty quickly if we start having utilization of the program. Second item John just talked about is the safety funding allocation. That's going up to 78 million to match what's coming in. And of course, the push down to the districts as John discussed. So with that, I need a motion, a second to approve that agenda item.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion to second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, so next we have on the non-action, we have a non-action item, Eric Schroeder, Assistant Chief Engineer, to give us an update on MoDOT's annual report for 2024. Eric,
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
that's a nice bow tie you have on too now.
A little Christmas bringing Max
Yeah,
along here,
thank you.
you know, so everybody loves the Grinch. So we have to have a little levity with the Christmas season because it can start to wear on everybody.
Hey, I like the pen too. It's the brooch is beautiful.
It's an homage to my passed away mother.
I love it.
her. So
I love it. Floor is yours, sir.
thank you very much. So I have a distinct honor today to represent the hard work of 5,000 MoDOT team members, our contractors and our consultants, and all the ones that make all this happen. So what I'm going to go today is give you an overview of our annual report that'll be presented to the legislature. This is a statutory requirement, but also a way for us to kind of summarize. So I'm going to hit the highlights as I go through this. But I think it's important to acknowledge that this is the hard work of those 5,000 individuals every day and all of our contracting partners, consultants that make this happen. But I also have to start off on a somber note because the report would be inaccurate and incomplete if I didn't acknowledge Jay Bone killed doing what hundreds of crews literally do every day all summer long. This is a monumental tragedy and failure, but we have to acknowledge this, that we're ever vigilant to keep working towards this never happens. So I have to start, I thank you for the moment of silence as we previously had for Jay, but this has to be part of the report, as somber as that is, but to make it accurate. So I'm going to start off with the annual report actually is made up of several documents that are kind of grouped together, and I'll go through those in groupings. So the first part is the year in review. And some of the key things that I'll highlight here, of course, is the record STIP, 14.6 billion. It's enormous. There's no other way to put it. When you look across our history and what we're doing, making huge improvements of taking care of this system that we have. You know, in all of our work with our planning partners and our public, every time we ask, and as we work on updating our long range plan, people continually tell us first thing, take care of what you have. We have a huge investment that our parents and grandparents made in this system. It's what gives us a competitive advantage where we live and do business. That 14 billion and taking care of that is crucial. But I also want to acknowledge the crucial work that the governor and the General Assembly has done and also investing more money in it. This is a sign of their trust in us because we're getting things done. Now, it's also a commitment that comes with a lot of heavy weight. But seeing them increase and talk about 577 million for I-44 and another 100 million in minor roads. Now, you heard Kenny give you the update of that 100 million in minor roads, already 90 million of that's under contract. We're waiting for a warm day in March to start paving again. That's all that's waiting on. I can also tell you that part of that 577 million on I-44, in a few weeks, we have a letting on a project in the Springfield area on I-44 that we're using some of those funds on to enhance that project and deliver those improvements in the Springfield area and putting that money to work as well. So it's not only just receiving these funds, it's putting them to work. And as we just talked about, not building balances, it's putting projects out there that people benefit from. Now, a couple other key things. Many of you are here for the opening of Buck O'Neill on a much more temperate day than today. But also next week, we'll be going to the Lance Corporal Leon DeRapp's final phase of opening it at the Missouri River. Now, everybody here knows who Buck O'Neill is and what he means to the region, but also give you a quick update. Not a lot of people know who Lance Corporal Leon DeRapp's is. That's the I-70 bridge. Lance Corporal was killed in combat in Iraq, and he grew up in a small town just south of the river bridge there in Jamestown, and he was a third-generation Marine. So that's why the bridge is named for him. So it'd be great. Another monumental improvement that also coincides with all those improvements that make I-70 possible. That project, we had the foresight and the engineering to make sure that is accommodating all those improvements as well. A great improvement. Now we can also talk about I-70 of not only having gotten the funding, but within a short period of time, already have one that's paving. And just last month, you awarded another monumental section. And here in a few weeks, we're going to shortlist teams for the third section. We're going at lightning speed on I-70, but that has been talked about and studied for decades, and it's our responsibility to make sure we don't spend decades building it. So a core portion of the annual report is the Citizens Guide to Transportation. And this is a breakdown of taking a complex, as we've talked about all the complexities in funding transportation and where the funding sources come from, all the partners that participate and where it goes. So this is part of the key part of the document. And this has been very successful. It takes about 50 pages to summarize and also in a reader-friendly format, explain to everyone where's the money come from and where does it go. And often in a graphic formula. This is one of the key ones there, shows all the funds that come in to the department and where they go to. You know, this also highlights things that some people don't realize is that $500 million goes to cities and counties. That's their share by Constitution in Missouri. $500 million goes to cities and counties to help take care of their roadways as well. The $330 million there for the Highway Patrol and Department of Revenue who collects the revenue, what our debt payment is, where, and then how do we spend this money? So out of all those sources, this helps show you where it comes from and where is it going. Now, one of the other things that Citizen Guide also highlights, and we've talked about this, is the cost of vacancy and turnover. You know, it's an astounding $48 million. And there's soft cost and hard cost to that your HR professionals will tell you about. But this turnover, while we made great progress, we still have holes. Some of the key ones, we're still struggling with equipment technicians. Have 45 vacancies for construction inspectors right now, as we talk about a record program. But $48 million is the cost of that churn of constantly training, equipment, hiring, recruiting, and also the time that supervisors are spending interviewing and looking for more staff as opposed to doing work. So one of the key things in there is to help people understand what that impact really is. Now, of course, the second, some of the other things is one of the core parts of our mission here and core feature that we do is take care of operating that system is $690 million that are all the things like mowing, litter that we just heard about. Last Saturday, we were plowing snow already. All the operations of taking care of those signs, striping the roads across every county that we have, $690 million to make that happen, to provide that transportation for our citizens in Missouri. We also show in here the progress we've made in moving projects off of the unfunded needs list. So the unfunded needs list, I'll use a baseball metaphor, even though it's 30 degrees outside, it's kind of the on-deck list. Even though we have record funding for transportation as we work with our planning partners and communities across the state, there are still more needs identified out there. And it's important that we use that to identify those lists, but this also helps put them in some priority order. It also makes it available that when we talk about available funding and talk with people who control appropriations, that these are things that could receive money that then can become improvements on the system. So we've been successful at using the unfunded needs list and moving things from unfunded to funded and under construction and complete. Then we show in the Citizens Guide our progress that we've made over time with that. And a lot of that's due to increased funding and targeted funding at that for specific projects through the legislature. Now, another document that makes up the annual report is the financial snapshot. Last month, Brenda and her team presented the comprehensive financial audit, and it's comprehensive. So the snapshot here, though, takes that down and looks at some of the more common questions we have and some of the more basic items, but also provides a lot of detail about our finances here at MoDOT. This goes all the way down to helping things like how much money does a county receive from their share of the revenue? How much money does MoDOT invest in each county through projects and all the other work we do? That's it in the snapshot as well. Now, one of the other things in the snapshot, it's important that not only does it show that share of the money and some of the basic things, it also gives you some scenarios that if funding was increased, how much does that, you know, if percent, how much does that turn into in revenue? But it also tells us some basic things about users of the system. And while this seems like one of those interesting facts, it's also important to our planning partners and to us. because you have to understand who's using the system, how many licensed drivers there are, buses, trucks, cars. All those play into it as we're planning for the system. You got to know how it's being used. And also, these are also the sources that generate the revenue that then allows us to take care of it. So while you see in there those facts, it's astounding to think that 4.2 billion gallons of fuel is consumed here in Missouri, and there's 4.3 million licensed drivers. Now, the next document that makes up part of the annual report is MoDOT results. So as we move through kind of the money we receive, how's the money handled, where's the money go? But also one of the questions that the annual report says, what do we get for that? What do Missouri citizens receive for this investment? And we try to summarize and highlight some of the things that Missourians receive as a result. What are we doing with these funds? And the first one I'll start off with deals with the project side. And you look at, in the past year, 783 million projects completed, 2.3% over budget and 94% on time. Now that 2.3% over budget, you got to remember these projects came through some historic inflationary times. And on the tail end of the pandemic, followed by historic inflation. So it'd be at 2.3, that's pretty good. We'd like it to be closer, but we can also say through that time that we didn't have to remove any projects. We may have had to move them in their timeline of when they were delivered, but we didn't cancel projects. And that's through the great work of our district staff, our planners, our engineers doing all they can. But it also shows you that 10-year list of over 4,000 projects, almost $10 billion worth of work completed under budget and on time. And we produce a document, the 10 years, so you can see by county, by district, the list of the projects, because we forget, right? We move on to the next project. It's important to acknowledge that over time, this investment in the system is important, but it helps us demonstrate where that money went, what projects were done. It's an accountability thing, because it also matches up to the STIP where we said we're going to do it. Well, here's what we did do, and they match up. Now, the other thing that's important to acknowledge on here is the 1,000 lives saved. As John just told you, I can't tell you exactly who they are or where they are, but all the scientific background and data-driven systems of all the things we've included in projects, all the work, we can document that this is the life saved. So it's somebody we don't know. It could be me, it could be you. Of all the improvements that have been made on the highway system are working toward that goal of making sure that we can get to the day nobody dies on our highway system. Because it's still horrific to say that 3 people die every day on Missouri's highway system, right? For all the great things I'm talking about, you can't overlook that 3 people on average every day. We got to keep working towards making that 0. So the results then is broken down further into areas of safety. Myself on the same page here. And what I want to highlight here is on the bottom of the page there, TMA crashes. They're down, and that's great. But if you go out on our YouTube site and see the videos from our TMAs, those are videos of our trucks and our people being hit by Missouri drivers. And it's important to remember when you watch that video, there's someone sitting on the other side of that camera who's taken that hit because their crew is in front of them who couldn't survive that hit if they weren't there. That's the horrific part. Now the numbers are down, and you've heard some of the things that we've worked hard, the changing of the boards and how we do this. Part of this is also due to we've had very detailed work done by Becky and her team of looking at and analyzing where are these hits happening, what's the setup, what operations going on, what can we do to make sure we're playing all the defense we can to protect everyone. And so moving that number down is a great move, but 42 is still way too many. Then we'll talk a little bit about on the service side, and you'll see here innovative procurement as we've been utilizing design build to deliver Interstate 70 projects and other major projects across the state here. But you also see the one there for general revenue for minor roads. And this is being the 3rd year now that we've received money for that. So having that be able to continue to cycle to quickly turn those available funds into projects, getting those projects completed so people are driving on improved roads And making sure that that cycle keeps on going is an important result to demonstrate that we are following through with that commitment, that those funds are provided and they're turning them into payment. So the last one here is stability. The one I'd highlight here is competitive discretionary grants is receiving $92 million infra grant to help with I-70. That's a huge amount of money for one grant. It's the largest we've ever received. And that's due to the hard work of our team, our people, consultants helping us and others to be able to prepare an application that really sells the case. And it's also important to note here that, that in this environment of grants, we don't chase after every grant. We want to make sure that we fit, that we're spending time and effort on ones where we know we can compete well. And this is evidence of that. The last one on the technology side there is using all the technology we can to do this safely. And one that I'd highlight here is our use of LiDAR in our surveying field, of limiting the amount of boots on the roadway to collect data and using it to collect more data more efficiently and quicker to allow us to develop projects. So that's just a quick overview of the whole annual report, which will be presented to the legislature. Usually sometime in January, we'll have a meeting, but we'll start providing the document right away here. And people can also go out on our website and see all the components of this as well. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments you might have.
Eric, thank you. Any questions, comments from the commission? Director?
You know, I think you hear a lot about accountability and you hear a lot about delivering results. And so one of the things we've tried to do with this document is make sure that we're very transparent about how we do our job. It's a complicated business with funding from all over, different scenarios, how we distribute money, how we deliver projects. But this is an effort. It is part of statute that's required by the legislature as our accountability. But I think it's more than that. It's really being transparent about everything that we do. Where does the money come from? How do we distribute it? How does it get spent? And then the financial snapshot gets right down into how much money goes to every place, if you really want to know, down to the 11th detail. And then our results, while we do our tracker, which is publicly facing, that gets into a lot of detail to show the results that we're delivering for the citizens of Missouri. And the results document does the same thing. Those are documented. We can show you exactly how we're getting to those numbers. They're not just things that we pull out of the air. They're documented results that are real. So I think the combination of those things, it's transparency, accountability, and results all in one place.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's a great reference to go back to in the future as well. You know, if you have a period of data set showing where you had a lot of success, it gives us the ability to go backwards and look at that over time too, which is incredible.
Absolutely.
But, Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from, seeing nothing else? Appreciate the presentation. Okay, next we're going to move into our public comment period. Members of the public who have not scheduled presentations before the commission may speak to the commission on transportation-related issues by signing in at the registration desk by 10 a.m. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic. Madam Secretary, do we have anybody signed up? Okay. Two. Okay, so first person we have is Don Rosenberger. Sir, the floor is yours.
Very much. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I just found out about this meeting Monday night fairly late, but there's been a concern at our intersection of 50 Highway and 7 Highway in southeastern Jackson County, Missouri, how much growth has happened in the last 10 years versus that area was originally and had been mainly rural farming and low density traffic. A lot of the side roads there are 20 to 21 feet wide. And so they won't handle heavy trucks and extra equipment. First of all, I want to say thank you for your service to the motoring public, because that's where we have to go to get anything done in question. I also want to say in the last 14 months, I've had excellent communication and good response from the MoDOT employees and contacts that were given and make it available to me to talk to them. Do I need to move this? Can you hear me okay? Okay. Okay. What I've been addressing is the access for a project that's in the works for a quick trip at 50 and 7. Well, we want to make sure that the right of way that's been there for over 75 years can stay intact for the businesses that are in the area and the residents that are in the area. The plan that was submitted to MoDOT virtually denied us access to 7 Highway in that corner. We'll have a right out and a right in entrance from 7 Highway to what's called Lone Jack Lee Summit Road, or the outer road there. Again, I didn't get enough information prepared to hand it out, so if you'll forgive me in that regards, I'll do the very best I can. In 1964, Jackson County earmarked that corner for general business. And at that same era, from I think it was 61 to 64, MoDOT started making 50 Highway a 4-lane highway with the medians in it for their division there. Approximately 14 years ago, MoDOT redid the bridge over 7 Highway on 50 Highway. And the meetings I went to at that time, they stated that, hey, we're going to make 7 Highway 4 lanes south of that bridge, 1,600 feet. Well, time goes by, I made contact and they said, well, our 10-year plan money ran out. So I think with this development going on here, they don't have to put the burden on MoDOT to do the right way for access. Is have the people that want to come in change the zoning and do the development so that they can pay the fees, because we know how the 10-year plan money lasts. Some of the neighbors that have to come down our road, which is Lone Jack Lee Summit, which turns into the outer road to get on the 7 Highway, because it's virtually, they consider unsafe to cross 4 lanes of 50 Highway at Herring Road and Easley Road to go to Lee Summit, to go to the grocery store, go to the diner, or whatever else they're trying to do. One of my contacts, did I say that everybody I've talked to has been very nice and very open and made things very consensual. One of the contacts I had with MoDOT when I made that concern, after meeting with the Quick Trip people at the city of Lake Lonawana, that they have that area incorporated now, stated that we'll deal with that problem as it becomes a problem. And they were informed me that I can go a half a mile south. There is a left turn lane on 7 Highway onto Herring Road, and the road averages between 21 and 22 feet wide, no shoulders, broken asphalt, and it'll take about 1.3 miles to travel these agricultural roads to come back to our business property at 50 Highway and 7 Highway on the southeast corner. So we're on the southeast corner of 50 Highway. There's a southeast 20-acre plot there that's been redeveloped twice in the last 12 years. The only reason why I want to bring that to the attention is that we're all for the growth, we're all for Quick Trip, but there shouldn't be any reason why we should be denied access to gain the 7 Highway by them wanting to put the development in there. There's a couple plans that I'd submitted to Lonawana that Quick Trip at the light at Whitetail Lane will actually exit into the Quick Trip parking lot. I suggested that they make a easement or right of way around their property, 36-foot wide would be enough to bring it around their property and go to the north to the outer road that's already there. That way all the residents, the business owner, the business participants can get on that, go around to the traffic light to get on 7 Highway. We know that MoDOT wants all interchange in that corridor to be at traffic lights, which makes perfectly safety sense. And it was kind of humorous a little bit when they said they did their traffic count. They did at 11 o'clock in the mid-morning. And what we noticed is that 7 to 7:45 in the morning and 4:30 to 5:15 in the evening, it's almost a gridlock because of all the new residents and businesses coming through 7 Highway in that regards. 7 Highway has been earmarked for business that I read from Jackson County since '64. Everybody had not had the growth pattern, the rooftops to support it. So I would think that it would be up to MoDOT's best venue to have for the grant right away for this new development, to have them ride in and right away, since they're going to approach and decree the development that's already there. And at the traffic light, should be fairly simple to do, especially before the construction starts. The next generation will hopefully add more businesses to that corridor. So it kind of would be better to address it now before businesses come in, the new rooftops come in, Foxbury growing leaps and bounds.
Don, I don't want to interrupt you, but I've got it pulled up in front of me. We're looking at it. I've talked to Chris, you know, you and I had the opportunity to talk, actually, all three of us had the opportunity to talk ahead of time. I'm confident that if you work with Chris's staff, that they can work through the obstacles that are here. I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. I'm not sure that going into any more details without something visual for everybody does much good, but we do. I mean, I see it clearly what you have going on at this particular location. And I think working with Chris and his staff is really the best thing to do at this point moving forward. Is
the quick trip on the southeast quadrant of the intersection?
They're on the southeast corner, but they're in that quadrant. They're on the very northwest part of it. They purchased like 5.3 acres.
Yeah, I got it visually now. So we were just trying to pinpoint that. You brought this to our attention, and as the commissioner from Jackson County, you can rest assured I'll be following up on this.
And I appreciate that. The other two things I wanted to majorly address is safety. If we have to divert it to another roadway to get off and on 50 Highway and 7 Highway, safety is the biggest issue because
we just looked at it
on the crossovers. Yes.
We understand that.
I mean, that's all I've been hearing all morning long, and I just hope that understanding through the development, they can incur some of the cost, that so you all don't have to take it all to make that safe and legal, because the Missouri Administration Procedure Act, Section 536, states that any development on a right of way shall be equal to all parties that section. Like I said, I didn't have much time to prepare. I thank you for letting me come up and speak. And I hope in the future that we can have better and more fluent conversations. I just finally got to talk to Chris yesterday. It was a pleasant conversation, and I hope that the screen callers will let us through again.
Yeah, no, hey, that's wonderful. Chris is in the room. Just make sure that you have his contact information and all of that stuff before you leave, and keep us posted on this too.
Okay.
I can get with you afterwards and give you my personal contact information, but keep us posted. And I appreciate you taking time to come up and give us the rundown on what's going on at this location.
Again, we just want to be addressed for safety. Thank you
Sure,
very
get
much.
it. Thanks, Don. Okay, next on the public presentations is Brian Platt, City Manager for the City of Kansas City. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners, everyone here. I'm here just to say thank you so much to all of you and our partners at MoDOT. We have a great relationship right now, and we are a broken record in saying we're so appreciative of everything that you've done for us in Kansas City, particularly our South Loop Park project. We got that amazing award this morning, announcement this morning about yet another round of funding for this project. This project does not happen without all of you here and your creativity and your leadership to make sure we've got the resources in place. It does not happen without Chris and Matt and the team that we've got on the ground here to make sure that we can cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and get this right. It is such a complicated project, but it has the potential to be so transformative. Again, broken record. I think you all know about how great this is going to be for not just Kansas City, but all of Missouri. We're just so thankful for it. I wanted to come personally and say it on the record publicly. Thank you for everything, truly, and hopefully we can all be there for groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, events, everything, you name it, all together. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Don't leave just yet. I got a question.
Oh, okay.
Stay at the mic.
Yeah. The speaker right now.
Well, thanks for coming over today. Very meaningful. And as I mentioned earlier, big things going on in Kansas City. This is one of those big things. That partnership that you referred to is two ways. Last night, we were talking about that, and I was made aware that the city of Kansas City is making available to us sweepers so that we can use city equipment to supplement our limited equipment to keep our highways clean. So let me reciprocate by saying thank you.
Of course.
This is the kind of partnership that we want all over the state, and appreciate you making that equipment available to us.
Of course.
Earlier, I talked about the Missouri Transportation Finance Corporation, MTFC, which has a loan program. Last night, we were talking about how we can help Kansas City even more. And that loan program is undersubscribed and available. And should the city have a project or two where you might want to get a jump start, say to do engineering, planning, even design work on a critical anything, that program, I confirmed last night, that program is available for that.
Fantastic.
And it would help jumpstart a project. I'm sure there might be one or two that come to your mind. There's one that comes to my mind. But I just want to reemphasize again, that loan program is designed to help cities do that, and just bring that to your attention. Thanks for the partnership.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you to our public presentations. Really appreciate taking time to come and speak before us. Typically, at the end of each meeting, we like to provide each commission member the opportunity to share any concerns or comments they may have. And today, I will start with Commissioner Smith.
Wow, you caught me off guard there, Chairman. No, thank you. I just appreciate all the presentations today. Chris, you and your team, for all the hard work you do here in Kansas City to make it look great. You know, the World Cup coming, and I know that's an exciting time. Warren tells me about it all the time, but it is. I only live 60 miles from Kansas City. My wife's up here once or twice a week. So, but anyway, just thank you to Kenny. 23% under budget. That's huge. It's great that we're getting more and more bidders on these projects. It's been a good meeting. It's always good to be in Kansas City in December, January, or March, anytime. So thank you all. Thank you for the reception last night. I always enjoyed visiting with everybody. Kevin, it's always good to see you guys. So with that, I will yield back.
All right. Commissioner Slay.
Yes, I just want to get this on. Yeah, I just want to say that it's great to be in Kansas City. This is the second time I've been able to visit the city as a member of this commission, and I can tell you that this is a wonderful city with a lot of talented leadership. Very impressed, and a lot of great things going on. And we, as a board here, I know MoDOT as an organization is extremely. We've got some real talented people here as well, and we are extremely. I think it's great to be working with Kansas City on so many wonderful things.
I'll turn my mic off. Thank you, Commissioner Slay. I'll go ahead and jump in here because I want Commissioner Edmond to have the time to bookend everybody else's thoughts. But it's an exciting time. I say this all the time. It's an exciting time to be in the transportation world, to have the opportunity to reinvest in our infrastructure throughout the state. You know, going back to Kenny's presentation on the bids this month, there's a lot of things that go into that, and a lot of thought about timing and, you know, having that public dialogue that the director talked about earlier with our planning partners, with our contractors, with our partners throughout the state, really help facilitate that that process to ensure that we're getting the best bang for the buck in the state of Missouri for the work that's going out. It's great to see competition back in those bids, and it's nice to see it easing down a little bit. Now, not a lot, but a little bit. So that's a good positive thing too. And we're seeing bidders that we haven't seen in a while, which is also a good thing. It's always great to be in Kansas City, certainly during the Christmas time period. I like being here in December. The city has a great feel, a lot of awesome things going on throughout the city and the surrounding area. So just appreciate the opportunity to be here and serve. I'm trying to think, I really think that's all that needs to be said today. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to the vice chair and let him bookend this.
Well, thank you. The theme for this meeting has been big things. Big things are made possible by big ideas and big effort. I want people to know how competent and professional the MoDOT team is in delivering projects. They're world-class. They do a tremendous job, and we wouldn't have big things if we weren't very good at delivering on big things. Speaking of big things, last month in St. Louis, we approved the largest design build project in the state's history. And the successful bidding team included the local HNTB partners who are in the room today. Congratulations on that. It was wonderful to have you in St. Louis. This is a very complicated, big thing that's widening I-70 basically from Wentzville to Warrenton, including part of I-64. Good luck, deliver, but we're very grateful that you were the successful bidder, and congratulations for that. And to close on big things, the year comes to an end, but that brings the calendar to a new year. And in the new year, the Missouri General Assembly will reconstitute and a new governor will be sworn in along with statewide elected officials. And it's a reminder to us that as a community, we have to engage in the process. It's simply essential that our community engage in the process. Good things have happened in recent years and will continue to happen so long as we stay engaged. There are things, ideas that come out of the General Assembly that are not good things, and we have to be engaged in those. And so while we celebrate the end of the year and holidays, I hope everyone will come prepared to travel to Jefferson City and to be engaged when issues come forward that are important to our community. Thanks again for bringing the commission, Mr. Chairman, and we're glad to have you in Kansas City.
Well, thank you. Before we adjourn, I want to make note that our next meeting is scheduled for January the 8th, 2024, and it will be in Jefferson City. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion to second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Looky there.